Okay, I'm fine with that. It is a good fit, but cosmetically it's not the best in the world. And I would have to cut a new slot, and I would have to add material here to make a new dovetail that would go in. That would go in here. I've done one dovetail in my life before, and that was with hand tools, and that was a hell of a job, and I'm not really up for it, I have to say that. So I'm wondering whether I could turn that simply into a butt joint, bolting it on here, so that in future, if you have to take the neck off, this is why I do butt joints, it is way easier to get them off and on again if you have a bolt-on neck. Of course, there are different philosophies about that, but for this guitar and for the effort it takes to make a new dovetail joint, adding material, taking it out again, most likely making a jig for a router because I don't want to do it freehand, I'd rather go with a butt joint, cut that piece off, put in 2 bolts here that go into the new neck block. So that's the plan. Pling. Much. Interestingly enough, after finding the new center line of this guitar, it seems that the bridge never was in the right position in the first place, as you can see here in the spacing. So I will have to fill these holes with wood, and I will position that new. What went really well is preparing the neck for the butt joint that we will have here. It's a tight and good fit all around the neck, and I set the angle. I can show you that when it's on. I set the angle. I hope you can see it in the light that it's really a good fit. I set the angle of the neck so that we will reach the new bridge or the old bridge that I will repair, or have started to repair. I've taken everything off here on the back, and I sanded that down. I will go down even more here to make a slot for the new bridge that goes in here, the saddle of the bridge actually. So that was originally like positioned like this. If I line it with the holes, so a bit off center, then it needs to go a bit more to the side. In addition, yeah, I will have to see if this neck 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 meets it at the 12th fret. if the scale length is okay with this position or if I have to shift it back or forth. We'll see that once this is in place. Yeah, those are the next step. Find, yeah, put in the bolts here, drill the holes in the top to attach the neck to the body. Then I can put on the fretboard and see how long the distance from the 12th fret to the actual new position of the bridge will be, and I will fill those holes here with some beech, most likely. I have decided to give the guitar a new binding. I have already done that on top of it, and now I will do it on the back as well. For that I will cut a binding slot here, and I will put on this brown binding that goes along well with the guitar. It isn't so as you can see, I have already put a new binding on the top of the guitar. yeah, to cover those cracks a bit here and to give it a nicer look, because originally there was a binding painted on and the same went for the rosette. Since I sanded that off, I put a new brown binding on, and I will do the same on the back of the guitar to protect the edges and to give it a nicer overall look. It is not original, but anyways, it fits well, the color is okay. So I'll do that. For that I cut a binding slot and glue the binding on with some special glue, which is a new thing I have. This is actually for people who do miniature builds of cars and whatever. This works really well. It doesn't make such a mess as super glue does. And you can apply it very, very nicely and precisely because of this syringe-like tip it has. So I'm using that for installing a binding. And I hope I will get the bolts for the neck soon, because I only have got long ones, and this is not a long way to go inside, so I ordered shorter bolts. I hope they'll be in the mail today so that I can finish off the connection between the body and the neck, so that in consequence of that I can locate the fretboard and already start staining the body. So I drilled a hole through the neck, as you can see, but I will cover that later with a piece of wood. It's more important that the neck, when I put in these bolts, doesn't split or is not destroyed. So I'd rather take that hole than having the wood split. nice as well. Fits like a glove. I'm lucky with that. Because I had a bolt that was exactly a dowel, you call it in English, I think, that was exactly the size of the hole. Lucky me. So let that dry, then saw it off and cover the whole thing. So, nice. But before I do that, I will cut, or I actually will use this triangular file for making the slots a bit wider, actually giving them a V-shaped slot so that any thread where I want to put in won't twist or tilt to the side, and that it can go in directly straight, which is the plan, and I will do that now. Mm-hmm. So I'm leaving out those two because I will need to position the fretboard on the neck, and that's what they're for, so that I don't forget that I can put in all of the frets. I will add some Titebond and I will put it in the slot so that the fret is not only hammered in but also glued in, and this hardens really well, so it will keep the fret in place. In former times I did that with super glue, but it can be difficult to get that off the fretboard later. It works better with that wood glue. Oopsala. So let's see how it goes. Looks quite alright. And you can clean the excess off with a sponge and some paper towel. So we'll continue with that all the way of the neck. So no more squeeze out, that should be in. So some of the frets are still a bit too long, so I'm cutting them to size, and at the same time I'm giving them a light angle. Well, I finally was able to bolt on the neck to the body, but it's very, very difficult because there is barely room to maneuver. Not only is this guitar only this thick, but there are the braces that come here, so I had to wiggle my hand in between and try to get the bolts in, which reminded me of these traps they're using in Africa, the natives, for finding water, because they're putting rocks of salt into a narrow space so that monkeys will come trying to get the rock, and once they go through the tiny opening and grab the rock, they can't get out anymore. That's what I felt like, but I finally managed it. I have to take it off again later, and when I glue it on with the fretboard, yeah, I'm interested in finding out how that can work quickly. But first of all, I'm going to find a fretboard, or the right position of the fretboard, because this is supposed to meet at the 12th fret, which is this one. And I put a middle line on the fretboard so that I can now clamp it in the right position, and then I will drill to holes in here and there to keep it in position once I glue it onto the neck. Which would be this. That looks good. And that looks good too. I will have to add material to the bottom of the bridge to raise it somewhat so that it goes along with my new neck angle. Since I've taken a lot of material on the bottom to straighten it out, it has become quite thin here and flexible, so it would be a good thing to add material in addition to the fact that I need it for raising the bridge. Because I've taken down material on top also, and I'm going to continue with that to go down even a bit further so that I can route a slot for the new saddle. I have already done the measurements for that, and all in all that means I will have to add like 6 mil to the bottom of the bridge so that it comes to the right position for my neck angle. The other thing is I have to find out where my new saddle goes, and I do that by first measuring along the center line what the 12th thread is, and this is, the top of it is at, better double check so that we're not getting in any kind of trouble here. Center line. Is that correct? I hope it is. So it is 29, no, it's quite, no, it's 30.95. Okay. And I need to multiply that by 2 to find out where the scale length is, and then I will have to do some compensation. Or not, I'll have to find out with this kind of guitar. I know that with the steel string guitars that I normally build, that is the effect. But the original saddle was in parallel to the frets, so I will find out before I do that. But first of all, I will put on the scale length so that I know where we are and where we stand. So that's my line. So the new bridge position most likely will be something like this, which is indeed a bit further back than the original bridge was placed. So So I have added material to the bottom of the bridge and I sanded it down because it was oddly shaped here, and I will take off further material to make that narrower so that the new bridge wouldn't look so bulky. When I sanded it down, it became visible that the string spacing, the spacing of these holes is not even, as you can easily see. So what I will do is I will fill those holes with this beach dowel, cut them off, sand it off, and then shape the bridge to its new form before I put it in place. So let's start by filling these holes. So I should fill the rest of the gaps with sawdust and wood glue. I'll let that sit and dry, and in the meantime I'll take care of the headstock. That's a good fit. I really like that. So I drill in holes for the fretboard markers, actually the sideboard. I give the top a layer of true oil, and I will continue doing so. The back and sides I will stain, or try to stain, which is something that I'm a bit scared of, but looking forward to. Because with plywood you never know how well it takes to stain, and I mixed something together that I hope will match the original color of the guitar nicely. So let's see how that turns out. So that's more like the original color. I hope when this dries it's not too orangey as well, but rather kind of yellow brownish. But it doesn't look bad. It resembles the color of the original quite well. At least I think it is a close match. And I wanted it to look like from the time. So I think that gives it this aged look that I'm after. So that went a lot better than I thought, except for a little interruption. So I'll let that sit and dry off, and the next thing I'll tackle is the bridge that I've already pre-shaped and worked on, taken off some of the material so that it doesn't look too bulky. This is the original position that I calculated from the new neck and from everything. But of course I will double check that once I have the nut in, how the strings run, and when I know that, I will drill the holes for the bridge pins. And that should be one of the last big steps for getting this little fella back to life, hopefully. So I need to cut a new nut and a new saddle. I already measured that, and now I'm cutting the first slot before I'm shaping it. These are just for orientation. So I will take off material here on the back side, because that goes towards the headstock, and flatten it out, and then I'll cut the slots to the right size and depth. I'm finding the new positions for the bridge pins. Okay. When I polished the frets with a Dremel and some polishing paste, unfortunately I forgot to press the record button, so that's not on camera. But now I will oil this very, very dry and old fretboard so that the oil can sink in. I'm using a lot here, and you can already see how it dries off here. So this is some Hungry wood needing the oil. Okay, in the meantime, while this is sinking in, we'll have a look at the new bridge. I measured the distance of the two outer E strings and then evenly spread the distance on that line between the single strings, and I put in little tiny pivot holes so that I can drill through that in order to have the new positions of the bridge pins. So, close enough. Might be a bit too small. Oh no, this one is too small. Okay, and one is missing. I have to substitute that, but I can make or have a wooden pin. This looks like a different material anyway. So As you can see, the bridge pins were not slotted and they were completely straight, so I put an angle on them, and now I will try to add like a slot here so that the string goes in nicely. Originally I thought I could keep these tuners, but after stringing the guitar up for the first time and trying to tune it, it turns out I can't use them anymore. So I have ordered individual tuners that I can put in here, and I hope the drill holes will be wide enough. If not, I have to do something about this. So that is the finished guitar. I'm happy with many things, how they turned out, but I'm not happy with other things, like for instance that I took off the neck in a butchery fashion, put on the new one, that led to some cosmetic issues around this area, but that's what you get. The body repair was quite nice. The new bridge position worked well too, and in the end it's playable again, and this is what the owner had wished for. So I hope he's happy with the outcome and has his granddad's guitar with some new life breathed into it.